The truth is, putting a developer beta on your sole Apple Watch is very, very dangerous, okay? Time and time again, people have installed the betas and it has bricked their watches, or they didn't update their iPhone first, so when you have developer beta trying to pair with a public release, it just doesn't mesh well, and especially with a lot of Apple stores still working by appointment only, it's a very dangerous thing to assume, yeah, I'm gonna just throw the developer beta on my watch. So you may be asking, why did I take such the risk and put a watchOS beta on my main and only Series 6? I wanted the portrait mode watch face. I thought, it looked cool, and that was probably the most interesting feature, so I figured the risk justified the means, and once I did, thankfully, install watchOS 8 without any issues, I realized that the portrait mode watch face is not out yet, so I couldn't use it. But I discovered a bunch of other very, very tiny details that I'll be exploring with you today. Full warning, you guys, nothing's huge, nothing is major. Don't feel like you should rush to updating your Apple Watch to watchOS 8 just to enjoy some of these new changes, but they are there, they do exist, and they're small. Let's begin. Alright, thankfully, just the first time I put my Apple Watch on with watchOS 8, I already noticed a very small incremental change, okay? So I put the watch on, I entered my passcode, and I realized that now, as you're entering your passcode, you get a little bit of haptic feedback, thanks to the ever so satisfying Haptic engine, and that was a change I didn't know I wanted, but once it was there, it was very much appreciated. I want the Haptic engine to go off, for no reason, all the time, just because it feels nice. And I was also hoping that within the calculator app you'd be able to tap buttons and it would give you feedback, but no, it's literally just for the passcode and that's it. Bit of a bummer, but at least we got it on the unlocking animation. Also, there's a lot of slight UI element changes. So within the Apple Watch Mail app, now there's this blue border around each of the emails, which is not something I knew was changing. And also the title of each application is in this blue text now, which is a bit more obvious and noticeable. I noticed this in the Messages app as well, and probably the biggest difference going from watchOS 7 to watchOS 8 that a lot of you might actually notice is the return of the search box. And by return, I mean we've had it on iPhones for a long time and it's never really been on the Apple Watch before, but now when you want to text someone, you just actually have a search field, and when you tap it, it instantly assumes you want to scribble, which is great because I feel like that's the majority of us. And if you want to dictate, there is a little dictation button right to the side of it, and instead of having the digital crown do its best to try to guess what you were typing, which I'll be honest, it never really worked that well for me. Now that just kind of moves your cursor throughout the word, so you can go back and rewrite a letter or delete a letter, and I think that was a very smart move on Apple's part. Kevin and the Apple Watch team has just been crushing it with how to make watchOS even better than it already is, and now allowing us to actually bring up gifs and send them from the watch itself. That's something I actually ran into quite regularly, because normally if I'm away from my phone and I just want to respond to someone very quickly, a gif is a pretty easy way to just say, I don't have time to respond to this text, so I'm just gonna send an emotional reaction of some kind. And now that I can do that straight from the watch, that's been pretty awesome, and I appreciate that that's now there. There's also a few other apps they've added with watchOS 8. The Find Items app is slightly different from the Find My app, so if you want to track down your AirTags, now you've got an app for that. Same with the Find My app. I also noticed if I leave my phone behind and I walk away from it, I'll get a notification from the Find Devices app telling me that my phone was left behind. The Breathe app also has been updated to show a mindfulness option, even though it basically does the exact same thing. But yeah, most hilarious feature of watchOS 8 for me was definitely just giving you a weird animation and telling you to think about something that makes you happy. So joyful and peaceful. I love thinking of black bezels in the M1X chip. Oh, thanks Apple Watch. I appreciate this feature. Also, when you swipe up from Control Center, they've tinkered the icons to be just a bit more bold and slightly more noticeable, and something that annoyed someone like me who didn't have a cellular Apple Watch was that there was always an odd number of complications. So you would have one at the bottom and a blank space, and usually after every update I would have to go into Edit and remove a few of those options in Control Center. Now they've shrunk and miniaturized the connected option at the top, so it lets you know when you're connected to your iPhone via Bluetooth or via Wi-Fi, and it gives you like a warning of what was the last used privacy hardware on this watch. Watch, so it will tell you if you have recently been checked for your location or if you have recently used your microphone, so that way you know if there's any third-party apps that are using the microphone without your awareness. watchOS is going to make it pretty painfully obvious that, yeah, okay, the microphone was just utilized for something. When I said there was going to be some tiny changes mentioned in this video, this is one of those I was talking about, but because I'm paranoid of my Apple Watch, you know, sometimes it's sitting in the window stand, in the morning it'll get really hot after charging for a long time, and I want to check the battery health. So when you go into battery health settings, they actually make the text very bold so that you know exactly what your battery health is. Before, the battery health feature in the Apple Watch felt very tacked on because all the text was the same size. It was kind of hard to read, and it was kind of hard to tell, like, okay, what is my battery health right now? Because the text easily blurred in together. So now they make it very obvious. I noticed that change, and I see you, Apple. I appreciate you responding to what we want, at least when it comes to the Apple Watch. And there was a change I actually mentioned in my iOS 15 first impressions video about how I love on notifications with iOS 15 that it now shows you a picture of the person's face instead of just a big green circle with the messages icon every time you get a text. And I was suggesting that should be a feature on watchOS 8 as well. Little did I know, sorry everyone, I don't know if you can tell, but I don't prepare a lot for some of these videos, but they actually did that, okay? They didn't make it known during the keynote that, hey, watchOS 8 notifications are gonna look a little bit different, but yeah, now, if I get a text from someone, I actually see their face show up on my watch instead of the green circle, and that's something that I've wanted changed for a long time. It's not like a deal breaker, it's not like a must-have, but I do think it feels a lot more natural to identify someone from their face instead of just their name, especially if we have that data attached to their contact anyway. So now, whenever you get a text from someone, you can see who it is by their face, which I thought, thank you, Apple. This is a change we totally need. I have not tried any of the new workout options that they talk about because I don't work out very much. And so far from my day-to-day use, I think that pretty much covers all of the watchOS 8 changes I've noticed. And if any of you are wondering if you should install watchOS 8 on your Apple Watch, I will once again say, don't do it. If I was not a YouTuber and I was not covering this information for my job, I probably wouldn't do it because there's so much risk in doing Apple Watch betas. You don't want to end up bricking your Apple Watch and having to bring it to Apple for them to fix it. That's an errand you shouldn't bother with, and a lot of these watchOS 8 changes are really, really tiny and small, and just be patient. Just give it a couple months until it's an official release, and then you can comfortably install it on whatever Apple Watch you're rocking. Even if you have the Series 6, which has a very fast processor and everything, I'm still gonna say, you know, even then, don't risk it, okay? There's so many ways this can go wrong, and there's so little game-changing features on this thing that you're like, I gotta get it right now. So even when the public beta comes out, I'm just gonna say, don't do it because the changes are so small. But yeah, when the official release comes out, you'll know about some of these tiny changes that many people probably didn't tell you about. This is your Apple Shape here. I'll see you guys in the next one.